Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from 104.9 FM. I'm Paul Kretschmer. On today's broadcast, once again, my guest is Fleur Dawes from an organization on the West Coast in California that seeks to rescue dogs which would otherwise be used as a meat supply in South Korea and rehome them as companions here in the United States.
It's a horrible problem, but yes, we get every kind of dog through. From the very smallest little teacup dogs all the way through to the largest dogs. I think you mentioned you have a Rottweiler. I don't think we've had a Rottweiler through yet. We've definitely had a number of larger dogs. Sometimes we get Huskies through. We managed to get some Malamutes through, two enormous dogs who you can imagine were very much at risk. And they cost a lot to ship. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. Because if you travel by air and you're not people, you still have to have what we might consider something of a ticket in order to make the journey.
That's exactly right, Paul. And the main problem that we had with COVID and all of the flight shutdowns was that people were no longer becoming flight volunteers. So, and when somebody flies on a plane, we can attach the dog to their ticket as cargo, which is wonderful because then it costs about just like a quarter as much, one fourth as much. But when we have to send them by themselves unaccompanied in a travel crate, it costs us 4 times as much money, and we've really been struggling with that. We've had to pay 4 times as much to get these dogs out the door, and it's getting very, very expensive. So if you can't become a flight volunteer because you're not traveling to Korea, if you can't adopt a dog, then I would say please do consider making a donation to bring these stranded dog meat survivors home. So you can go on our website, idausa.org/flyhomela. So idausa.org/flyhomela. And you'll be doing a wonderful thing and giving a dog a second chance at life.
I would presume that the difference in cost is the difference between being shipped as a companion or a pet versus being shipped as just straight freight.
Exactly. Yes, you hit the nail on the head there, Paul. And I don't know why it costs so much more. I mean, the dog has the exact experience. There's no special padding when you send them as cargo or anything. You have exactly the same experience from start to finish. It's just it costs us a lot of money, but of course they're totally all worth it. What price can you put on a dog's life? You just can't.
Now, as far as getting them out of the meat trade and into rescue for fostering or becoming a forever friend for someone, how is that handled at the other end in Korea then, Fleur?
So it depends on the dog. So we have some rescue partners based in Korea. They are absolutely amazing bunch of Korean folks who care deeply about dogs and ending the dog meat trade. And they work their butts off to get these dogs rescued and out there. Last year we had an amazing rescue, which is kind of one of the ways in which we get them is tip-off. So about this time last year, we got a call in the middle of the night, and somebody told us that there was a dog meat truck, and it was en route to Korea's dog meat festival. So you've probably heard of Yulin, the very infamous Chinese dog meat festival. So Korea has its own version, which is they're called Boknal dog meat eating days. So they're the 3 traditionally considered the 3 hottest days of the summer on the lunar calendar. And on those days, people eat dog to cool them down. So it's considered a cooling food. So we got this tip about a truck, and fortunately for us, the driver was drunk and decided to stop off at a motel on the way. And the 28 dogs were crammed on the back of this truck, unbelievably tight in these cages. I mean, it's heartbreaking to see what these dogs endured on their way to, what was going to be the final stop for them, the butcher's block. We have a very beautiful video about it, and you can see our rescuer. She jumped in the car and went down there as fast as she could, and she was just pleading for their lives. She called in the local inspector. She called in the police and did everything she could. Of course, it's legal over there, so what she doesn't really have a leg to stand on. But she did a lot of pleading and begging, and eventually managed to get these dogs released. So 28 of them we managed to get from this tiny little truck bed. Like I said, you wouldn't believe. Just please go on our site and have a look at this video. You just will never. It's quite unbelievable. And yeah, so she managed to secure the release of these 28 dogs. And of course, some of them were incredibly sick. They'd been through the most awful things you can possibly imagine, and a couple of them sadly didn't make it through the night, even though we rushed them to the vet, which was very sad. But at least they knew a loving embrace before they went. But the 26 who did make it, some of them got sent for rehabilitation. So we have a specialist school over there, a dog school, and the guy who runs it is amazing. The dogs absolutely love him. They will do anything for him. And my dog went through dog school and got rehabilitated because she was extra traumatized. But the majority of the dogs actually just do fine. They amazingly still have it in them to trust and forgive humans. They might be, they don't quite understand how to be dogs as we expect it, but after a few weeks of knowing real tender love and care at our rescue centre, we then put them up onto our Facebook page. It's called Jindo Love Rescues, available for adoption. So if you search Jindo Love Rescue available for adoption, you will find it on Facebook, and you can join and you can see all of the dogs who are ready for their loving forever home. And that's it. Then we just ship them out once we find the right place.
What kind of a working relationship do you have to have with the governments involved and the air carriers that you deal with then?
I wish we had a closer relationship with them. It's very difficult in Korea because no one really wants to ban the trade. There's, consider that even though a lot of people under 40 actually haven't even eaten dog meat, there's a lot of the older generation have eaten dog meat or do eat dog meat at least once a year on the Boknal days. So you can imagine something that would be very unpopular. The politicians aren't really very keen to ban something that telling their older voting demographic what to do.
Yeah.
So you know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
So that's a tough thing, but there are positive strides being made. The mayor of Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea, actually did pass a ban on dog meat eating last year. So there's definitely movement in the right direction. But whether there's going to be a ban anytime soon on dog meat eating, I don't see it happening immediately. But we sure are trying, and in the meantime, we're just saving as many lives as we possibly can.
Thank you very much, Fleur Dawes, for spending some time with me for the WIHS Journal. A pleasure on one level in finding out about something that has its deplorable side, but which also has a response represented by people like you and the people you work with.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Once again, my guest has been Fleur Dawes from an organization on the west coast of the United States and California that seeks to rescue dogs from Korea where they would be used as a meat supply and home them as companions here in the States. For further information, call us at 860-346-1049. Opinions expressed are those of the participants, not necessarily those of the staff or management of the station. I'm Paul Kretschmer on the WIHS Journal, Public Affairs from WIHS, Middletown.